Lady Charmaine, and my guest today began his career as a production assistant in lighting tech on film sets in New York City. He honed his craft writing and directing his own short films. His debut feature film has been a film festival favorite, and he's here today to talk about his new film, Killhole, that takes you into the mind of war veterans and the mental battle that they face returning home from war. I want you to help me welcome director Mischa Webley to the show. How you doing, Mischa?
I'm doing pretty good. It's good to be here. Thank you.
You are so welcome. Thank you so much for joining me on the show. And I want to say first, I want to commend you for just bringing to life a real issue that is taking place in our society, dealing with mental illness and the mental trauma that veterans face. What even made you even want to address this issue?
Well, I was, starting to work on the script for this, and I was partially inspired by some stories my grandpa was telling me about World War II. He was in the South Pacific there in the infantry, and he really got me thinking about the two wars that were going on currently, and how we had men and women coming home from the wars with those types of experiences, carrying that type of really heavy stuff around, and I just really wanted to understand that. I wanted to dig deep into it. So that sort of set me off on this path of writing this film, and I spun a story around it.
Now, where did the term Killhole come from?
That's a reference actually to a Native American tradition that I learned about. It's a tradition for tribes that were clay potters, and a kill hole was something that they used when one of their elders had passed, and they took his best pot, put it on the ground, and cut a hole in the bottom of that pot, and placed his ashes in that pot. The idea was that hole connected basically his ashes to the earth and helped the transition from this life to the next. And in the film, that is sort of symbolic for one of the characters who's struggling really, and is trying to basically trying to make that transition, is trying to find some peace, and so it's sort of a metaphor for what he's going through.
Now, Chadwick Boseman is one of the stars of this film, and we all know he's starring in 42, the Jack Robinson story. Tell us about the film and just the whole premise around the film, and who does Chadwick Boseman play in the film?
Chadwick plays a Iraq vet who's returned home recently. He's been home for a while, and he's pretty much haunted by some of the things that he did while he was at war. And he's hiding out. He's driving the night shift at a taxi company. He lives in a motel, and has basically cut himself off from the world. And what happens is he's brought back into he's tracked down by a sort of shadowy government agency, and sent out to track down Tory Kittle's character. His name is Sergeant Carter, who's gone AWOL and lives out in the wilderness. And Chadwick is brought out of his little world and sent out to track Tory down.
So, Tory Kittles, you said he went AWOL, right?
Yeah.
Now, your story, it's amazing because, the Chris Donner story, we all know what just happened earlier this year. And your film was even written before that. How did his story captivate you, knowing that you were doing a movie dealing with war veterans that was dealing with mental illness?
Yeah, it was really interesting when that story came about. Really, really tragic story, of course. I pretty quickly thought of Tory's character. That's there's a lot of parallels. His character has cut himself off in his own way. He's gone AWOL, and he started basically a vengeance campaign. He's killed a couple people that he blames for some of his troubles. And something about Christopher Dorner's case that really stuck with me was that I read some of his manifesto that he sent out to press, and it was very well written. It was very clear, and it was very logical. And that was really interesting to me, that someone could be so rational in one way and then still come to the conclusion that they should go do something so irrational and so off. And and there's a lot of parallels between him and Tori's character in that way.
Now, how can people get help? Because my husband and I, when we had pastored a church, we had one of our church members that dealt with PTS after the war. How can they get help? Is there places they can go if there's somebody listening and they have a relative that's dealing with that? Do you have any resources that you can actually recommend for people that's dealing with that?
I wish I had a list right in front of me. There are a lot of resources out there. Some through the military and some not. There's a lot of vet support groups and counseling centers that specialize in dealing with people suffering from PTSD, and also groups where vets can get together and talk. I know that there's different chapters of those in most major cities and even in some smaller cities. So I don't have it right in front of me, but I know a quick Google search can turn up some options. And it's definitely good resources to look into if you need it.
Now, for you, I just want to know, for this to be your first film, why was this film so important for you to tell this story as your very first film?
Well, there's not necessarily any rhyme or reason as much as like when I find a film, when I find a story that is something just it sort of digs its claws into me, and this really did that. This hung around my brain for a few years before I could even write it, and I couldn't let it go. It's an important subject. It's timely, and I really felt like there weren't enough movies being made about this experience, and about the wars that are going on, and about the vets who fought in it. And I really wanted to, just personally, I'm very curious. I wanted to understand it and wanted to dig into it. So in some ways the stories don't really give you a choice. It comes into my brain and it just won't leave me alone until I flesh it out and write it.
Now, can you tell us about any other projects that's going through your brain right now and you're getting ready to flush out so all of us can see them?
Yeah, well, I've got a few. But I'm currently looking at my next feature film, which is something pretty different, but is a sort of Wall Street family drama. It takes place during the financial crisis and looks at the son of a high-level Wall Street executive who is facing indictment for his participation in the financial crisis. So it's another heavy subject, but based in reality too.
Okay. Well, we definitely look forward to seeing that. Do you have a website if anybody wants to go and check you out, see your next movies are coming out, or even learn more about Killhole?
Yeah, you can go to killholemovie.com. That has all the information about how you go see it. Today, the movie is released on DVD and on iTunes, so it's in Walmart, Target, on Redbox, and on iTunes online. So anybody can go and find it right now.
Well, thank God you got them all covered. The Walmarts, the Targets, online. So nobody has no excuse not to see the movie. You can even go to Redbox. We're a Redbox family over here.
That's right. We make it easy for you.
That is awesome. But I want to thank you so much for coming on the show. And again, we want to encourage everyone to go and make sure you pick up the movie today. It's called Killhole, starring Chadwick Boseman. So thank you so much, Mischa, for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
You are so welcome.